Minnesota Vikings outlook for the 2023 NFL season. How good are the Minnesota Vikings going to be this year? Now, last season, the Minnesota Vikings were what a lot of people called a fluky team. You know, they got all these wins due to all of these last-minute fourth quarter comebacks. We all can't forget the miraculous comeback against the Indianapolis Colts on Christmas. It was a Christmas miracle for all Minnesota Vikings fans to behold. And then they won the NFC North division. And then they go into the playoffs and they lost to Daniel Jones and the New York Giants. Now, going into 2023, the biggest question for the Minnesota Vikings is this defense. Now, they got a new defensive coordinator in Brian Flores. Now, Brian Flores is one of the most respected coaches in all of the NFL. Not only is he a really good defensive mind, but he also is a really good coach. And in Mike Tomlin's words, when Brian Flores was released by the Miami Dolphins and he was available to get scooped up and be added to his coaching staff, Mike Tomlin went up to the owners' room really fast when it happened and said, "Hey man, can we get Brian Flores?" And he said, "Hell yeah, man." And Coach Tomlin said, "We got a chance to get a really good football coach." So Mike Tomlin loved having Coach Flores on his staff. And we're going to see how Brian Flores is going to be able to improve this Minnesota Vikings defense, because many Minnesota fans are optimistic about this defense being able to improve under Brian Flores, but you don't know how much of a improvement it's going to be from what you had on that side of the football last year. So you know this defense will be better, but it's one of those cases, how better? Because this defense was really bad, especially when it came to situations when the game was on the line. They always folded the majority of the time. And when you look at Brian Flores, something that he loves to do compared more to the other defensive coordinator is that he's way more aggressive. A lot of blitzes, a lot of cover 0, cover 1. And do you have the kind of players that fit what Brian Flores wants to do defensively is the question that you're asking if you're a Vikings fan going into the 2023 season. So that's why Vikings fans, most of them, are optimistic about what Brian Flores is going to be able to bring to this defense. This defense, they do expect to improve, but they don't know if this is going to be a defense that goes from where they were last year to being one of the best in the NFL. So they probably will make some leaps in improvement on defense, but they won't make a lot of strides on defense. Now, there are a couple of guys who fit Brian Flores' defense pretty well in the secondary, which is a huge concern that everybody has about Minnesota. Their secondary was not good at all. Anytime old man Patrick Peterson is the best player that you have at cornerback, you got an issue. And I love Patrick Peterson. He plays for my Steelers, but he was getting carved up by Isaiah Hodgins. Not once, but twice. Let's not forget that, people. But he's gone now. You brought in Byron Murphy in free agency. You also signed edge rusher Marcus Davenport. Now, when you look at Byron Murphy, I felt like he was really underrated during his time with the Arizona Cardinals. He's a really good slot cornerback. So I think one of those 3 cornerback spots, you already have a good idea who's going to have one of them already secured. Now, who are going to be your 2 outside cornerbacks? Rookie Mekhi Blackman. Now, he was a mid-round pick out of USC, but he's really aggressive, really physical, really good in press man-to-man coverage. So I think this is one of those guys that you could see being a rookie starter for Brian Flores in this defense. Like I said, really aggressive, really physical cornerback, good at man-to-man press coverage. So that's what Brian Flores wants out of his cornerbacks. And I think that he's also pretty solid against the run. Now, Andrew Booth, he was a rookie last season, really athletic, had a lot of upside, but was really up and down. Are you going to give him another trial run this season? I guess we'll see. Now, Lewis Cine, majority of his rookie season, he missed, but coming out of Georgia, this dude was highly praised. super aggressive, very good tackler. He's just the player who just throws his body around. Then Brian Flores should have a lot of fun having Lewis Cine on his defense. Now, you still do have Harrison Smith and Danielle Hunters, who are still staples of your defense. Harrison Smith, he isn't what he used to be, but he's still highly productive, still one of the best at the position. So overall, when I'm looking at this defense, I mean, I don't think this defense is going to be as bad as what some people may think. It definitely won't be as bad as what it was last year. They're definitely going to be way more aggressive. They're going to take way more risk. But with Brian Flores' defense, you know that there's going to be some situations where you're going to take some gambles and they're not going to pay off, and you're going to take some risk and they're going to pay off well. So defensively, I'm a little bit higher on the Vikings than what most people are. I think this defense should be top 17, top 18. Now, looking at this offensive line isn't bad, but I have my reservations about it. Watching the quarterback Netflix documentary series, Kirk Cousins was getting thrown around back there like a rag doll. And the way this offensive line played during that documentary series made me feel really bad for Kirk Cousins. So this offensive line, I want to see if they're going to improve this season. They weren't bad last year, but hopefully they can take a step up in pass protection this season. You lose Dalvin Cook, you got rid of him, you cut him, but I don't really think there's going to be a huge drop-off at running back with Alexander Mattison finally taking over. If you play Madden, you know how much of a stud Alexander Mattison is on your Madden franchise, but in real life, he's that dude as well. And the difference between him and Dalvin Cook is that Dalvin Cook is way faster, way more agile, better in space, but Alexander Mattison is a true power back. He has really good speed, really good size, and plus he's really good after contact. This is one of those guys that every time he gets the football, you're going to hear some pads thumping. You're going to hear a lot of pads thumping and clapping. There's going to be a lot of violence every single time he totes the rock. And you got to remember that Alexander Mattison is somebody who averages over 4 yards per carry, and he has really good hands. Now, his hands aren't as good as Dalvin's, but he isn't too shabby in that department as well. So I'm thinking that Alexander Mattison should be in store for a breakout season this year. Kirk Cousins, you know, after watching the Netflix documentary about him, I'm a bigger supporter of him now than when I was prior to watching that. And to be honest, I was never really a big Kirk Cousins guy prior to QB. But after watching that, I got a lot of admiration for how he plays through injuries, how he also finds ways to take care and give the family the time that they deserve and need from him throughout the season. And I just like how even sometimes he can kind of be a little bit low on himself. He is one of those QBs that does rise to the occasion more times than what people give him credit for. So I'm kind of feeling like Kirk Cousins is a little bit underrated. I think he's like the 11th best quarterback going into this season, honestly. And this offense, you got Jordan Addison, who should be an upgrade from Adam Thielen. I'm thinking that Jordan Addison is going to have a really good rookie season. Really good route runner, really good acceleration. He wasn't as great as an athlete that some people thought he was when he tested at the combine. But, I mean, when you watch him on film, you see somebody who's just a really good receiver. Very, very good ball control. I think he has really good hands. Like, I think that Jordan Addison, you could easily have made the case for him being the number one wide receiver coming out. And some people may have had him as the number one wide out, but you got him and Jay Jettas on the opposite side. And these rookie wide receivers, they kind of start to come out hitting the ground running out the gate. So Jordan Addison has been as good or is as good as some of the other rookie wideouts that have been drafted in the first round in the past, like him. Then this could be a really nasty passing attack the Vikings could have this season, because I kind of forgot they got TJ Hawkinson at tight end as well, who they got at the trade deadline from the Minnesota Vikings, and he was a pretty big addition to that offense when they got him. So looking at this offense shouldn't drop off. Your biggest question is, how are they going to look defensively? You know this defense is going to improve, but how much is the question. So my thoughts on Minnesota overall going into this season is that I think they are one of those teams that they're a borderline playoff team. And I don't feel that way because of how last season went and how they won the majority of their games. I just feel that way because their defense, you don't know about it. Their offensive line is a little and Kirk Cousins at times can be but that's sometimes. And overall, when I look at them, I just get 9-8. And that's kind of the record prediction that I have for them. I think they can be around 9, 10, 11 wins at most this year. But I don't think they're going to have the kind of season that they had last year. Their schedule is way tougher. And this division is also going to be a little bit more difficult this season compared to 2022. But let me know your thoughts on the Minnesota Vikings going into this season. How good do you think they're going to be? And what are you feeling about Kirk Cousins being in the Netflix quarterback documentary series? What are your thoughts on him?